Hey guys, it's Neon Shades here. I got quite a few requests on how to make my long braided Rapunzel wig, and don't worry, I understand that you could be freaking out if you're planning on making one, but don't worry, I've got you covered. Okay, so first you need lots of reference images. You can find them all over the internet, and it's just really useful to have. First started out by using stuffing, kind of like padding, and I curled it into tubes, and just to kind of get the rough average of size. And as you can see here, I added lights to my wig. You can see, I figured I would test it to see if the light showed up, which is why I've got it in plaited thing. The wig will actually be smaller than these tubes because eventually you'll put like tights around them, and that'll like keep the stuffing in place and actually make it a lot slimmer. So this is it in the dark. So I just used some random tights that I bought in the shop. These basically, underneath all of the hair, you won't really be able to see it through. So I cut the ends off and literally just stuffed the tubes inside of the tights. These, I then plaited it just to see like sizing and just to make sure it was okay, and compared it to the scale on my body. I used two very large hairbands at either end just to keep it in place. And then I added the lights again, just to keep updated and see what it looks like. I then tried to glue them on. I did keep the lights on while I glued it just to keep it, make sure that they were still working. It does look like a bit of a mess, but it's not much you can do about it. I got this wig from Wig is Fashion. I'm not sure if it says the name. Yeah, the long straight mixed blonde one. It is a lace front wig. This is what it looks like when I first got it. And I got it with some like hair wefts as well. I got a lace front because I really wanted the front of the wig to look natural, and I figured that if you're spending this much money on a wig, then you may as well know what it is. Like, you may as well get the best quality one you can. This is a plan that I made beforehand, so I knew everything went. Don't worry if you've never really styled a wig before. I hadn't either, and this is the first attempt that I did at doing the plaits, so it was a bit of a mess. I then styled the fringe into like the swoosh, and then pinned it in place, and then actually added the plait to it. The top plait, as you can see, is a Dutch plait. The underneath one is a French plait, but because of the wig I could only do it as a normal plait. And it's the same on both sides, except the fringe only really goes into one side of the wig. As you can see, the plaits both go to a point in the back. You can just pin those in place for now. I use small plastic rubber hairbands that you can get for like £1 off eBay just to tie them in place. You'll eventually cover that with a giant blue flower. And here's a giant clip thing that I used to hold them while I was just doing things. The next thing you want to get is some of the wefts. Just take a couple of them, and then you want to plait them into the thin plaits so that you can add them to the thicker braids later once they're done. Here's just them wrapped around my arm for scale. And then I attached the tubes that we made earlier onto the underside of the big wig. It does look a bit ridiculous, but it just gives you an idea of where you're going to attach them to and what you're going to do. Next I got the wefts and attached them to the tube. I wrapped them around a couple of times. I got enough wefts, I think, to be able to wrap it round the main thing twice. So this is just it hung up on a washing line in my garden while I just glued the first layer of wefts down, just make sure that everywhere was covered so that I didn't have any gaps particularly. And then I used a cord to keep it tied while I let it dry for, I think it was about 24 hours. They do look like a bit of a mess when you take them off. I mean, this is the first layer, so it's bound to look a bit awful. And don't worry if it looks as atrocious as this. I was a bit heartbroken, but it is fixable, so yeah. At the top, as you sew the second layer of wefts on, ideally use a thread that actually kind of matches the hair colour. I use like a golden one, and just go around a couple of times and sew them in. This is the batteries at the top that I had to keep them free so that I didn't actually sew them into it. I just kind of left them loose. You're going to need a bit of a workspace for this just because it does take up a lot of space. So yeah, when you're done, you'll have the tube, the base head wig, and then the smaller plaits. And then you need the flowers. I will leave a list below of the flowers that you need. The most important flower is the giant blue gerbera flower. I think it's pronounced gerbera flower on the back of her head. But this is where reference photos are important. So the next step is to just get a friend to help, because I mean, if I tried this on my own, it would be really difficult. And get them to wear the wig while you plait it. It makes it much easier, and you can just sort it out. And then once you're done, you glue the smaller braids into the giant, like bigger ones, in place where you want it. After that is then gluing on the flowers once it's all sewn and added in. Make sure you've got plenty of snacks, and because this is going to take a while to glue in each of the things. If there are any missing like patches on your wig where you can see like the tights underneath, just glue some flowers over the top. I mean, the movie is quite randomly placed, so it'll work however you want to. I then added glitter, just to make sure everything was in the, like, everything looked as princessy as possible. So when you're done, this is what it should look like. This is my one as soon as I added it. As you can see, there's lots of different colours of flowers there. I got them all off of eBay. And a comparison photo of what my wig looked like in comparison to the original, like, Rapunzel thing. As for wearing the wig itself, I basically just had 2 wig caps and a lot of hairpins. This is my squad. You got to make sure you've got Pascal with you so you're all ready to be princess-like. When I was travelling to the con, I did go in the car because there's no way I'd be able to wear this on the train very easily. And I just put my wig over the back seats. And here's some photos of me with my Flynn Rider. As you can see in the next photo, the wig did actually light up in the dark, and it did look really nice, and I'm very pleased with how it went. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful. I'm always around, so just drop me a message. I'm on social media at Neon Shades, on Instagram, which is where I'm most reachable. And if you wanted any more of these photos, maybe like more high definition, just message and I'd be happy to send them to you. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.